Hey, how's it going, guys? This is Dean here with Project Blue. In this video, I'm going to show you our new workflow automation feature to allow users to send um, messages from the selected device lines. So currently, we have a feature right now that just load balances between them natively, but we've created another action. In the event that you want to choose the device line, right? Let's say you have device lines tied to certain reps, whatever that may be. Uh, right now, I'm going to show you guys the integration in Highlevel. We don't have like a customer or kind of like a self-service portal for our other CRMs that we use with like HubSpot and Close. This is just a um, this is just a kind of tutorial to on Highlevel. So I'll just show you guys. Obviously, you'll need to have our application installed. And for those of you guys that don't know, Project Blue is a service that allows you to send Blue iMessages directly from your CRM. So yeah, you'll need our application installed, and yeah, I'm just gonna jump into a Scratch workflow that I'll go ahead and create, and yeah, we'll get into it. Alrighty, guys. So, yeah, we can go ahead and get started. So, if you have the app installed, and this is on the latest version, so if you're an existing user, you just have to reinstall the app from your agency account back in your sub account. Very simple. It's not going to disrupt anything. You won't have to reach out to support or anything. So, very, very simple. But yeah, if you type iMessage, it's going to be this send iMessage assigned user, and very, very intuitive. So just normally we'd put the contact raw format here, the to number, and just obviously whatever content you want, and a voice memo, an optional voice memo. But well, again, what I wanted to really show you is now in this phone number, you'll have a um, you have an option to choose which one you have. So these are going to be the device lines that are tied slash mapped to your account. So again, if you have 8 device lines, if you have 10, you're going to see all of them here. And basically, you just select one from the drop down. You'll say, hey, I'll say, hey, this is John, for example. Go ahead and save that. And we can, and how, an obvious use case of this, right, would be if you wanted, again, separate device lines and automations to fire based on, say, like an assigned rep or, right, however your lead funnel looks like, and you want certain messages to come from certain device lines or certain users. That's how I'd see this. So you could do like a what is it called? Either you could do like an if else on conditions, right? If for example, if lead is assigned to this person, or whatever condition you have, or you could just do like a split. Really, kind of this just kind of opens up the extensibility um, of the feature. But here, I'll just do a simple. I'll do like a split, and let's just say we'll add 3 paths. Um, I'll just do basically a third on each. I'll have to do 34 there, but yeah. So for example, this is the first one. So path A, for example, would be like um, you know, John, Jack, and then like Jill, for example, right? So you know, whatever trigger you have, it would go through the split, and then it would divvy it up, um, to the terms that you've outlined here. So basically, for example, we could take this action here, copied here, and we could even keep the same messaging and everything. All we'd have to do is just like adjust the phone number. So, for example, like let's say this number is assigned to Jack, right? So this allows you to have this without having to, come to us and we make those adjustments. It's kind of a self-serve widget, if you will. Um, so again, same kind of process goes. You could copy it if you say had a third device line, and go from here. And one thing I do, we only have 2 lines here, but the lines you purchase will be here. And one thing I also want to outline as well is, so like, let's say that we had 3 of the device lines outlined. Now, once it sends, or the way our system works is once it sends a message from John, from John's number, which is this number here, it's going to make sure to persist that same number across the whole conversation, right? So let's say a lead comes through your funnel, it gets routed to John. And in John's kind of branch, you have his phone number outlined here. So if you go to message this contact again, this recipient, it's going to ensure, let's say in your actual conversation thread, I'm giving Highlevel as an example here, obviously. If you go and message him, it's going to ensure to use that same number that went through the funnel here, assuming that this is the first time you've contacted them, right? Which again, for this use case, I'd imagine it would be. So what I mean by that is if a lead comes through, it goes routed through John's number, which is outlined here, and John later messages him, say later in the day, he responded, whatever that may be, and they want to persist the conversation. It's going to ensure to use this number and not some other number, and that in the conversation window, that's already automatically done, if that makes sense. There's no like further tweaking there. So our system will know to use kind of like a smartphone number, if you will, to make sure it does that. And likewise, if a lead comes through and it gets split up, obviously this is just a random split here. You could have different distribution types, but if it comes through Jill's number and he uses this phone, for example, this 5391 602 539, it's going to ensure that if Jill goes back to message them in the conversation window, it's going to ensure to persist this exact same phone number. And there's no additional configuration needed. So yeah, guys, it's pretty intuitive. The kind of goal of this was to make it as what's it called? Yeah, as intuitive as possible, self-serve without having to contact support. So again, once you guys get set up and onboarded, you'll see all of your device lines here. However, something to note is with this functionality, something you'll have to consider is that you need to pertain to the message limits that we've set for your account. So what I mean by this is, if you have an assigned number, we're not going to be able to kind of load balance between the different accounts, which is what we'd normally have with the send iMessage by default. Let's say if you had three numbers here, um, it would balance between three of those numbers. But when you have an assigned one, this is our traditional one, our workflow. But if you have an assigned one, this is where obviously it's deterministic, right? You know which one it's going to use before you go through it. So what I mean by that is you have to ensure that in your kind of branches, your lead routing, that you distribute it in compliance with our message limits that we sent, or sorry, that we set. So what I mean, TLDR, if we, for example, if John is getting 90% of the leads and Jack and Jill are getting 5%, but all of the leads are coming through. So, if you get 100 leads, 90 of them are going to come through John, um, which is going to be, going to be over our limits. And Jack and Jill's lines are pretty much going to be unused. So that's something to consider. And if that's the case, it may make sense more to use that load balancing. But it shouldn't be an issue. So hopefully this makes sense. But yeah, I just wanted to outline this, guys. If you have any questions, just hit us up. But yeah, hopefully this was informative.